The number one program on a chart is separateness. The very first program we put in is wanting to be separate from the one, from the oneness. The oneness is our beingness. It's omnipresent. Right now, your beingness is everywhere present. We start cutting ourselves off from it by saying, I'm going to be separate from it, and we put a circle around ourselves to encase our beingness into a thing called mind-body. Our beingness sets up a mind which imagines it's a body. So everything you do, and will keep on doing until you reach freedom, is to undo that feeling of separateness. On the chain of separateness comes mind, body, and everything to do with the body. Other bodies, mama, papa, children, husband, wife. It gets more and more involved as you move out from the top state of oneness of beingness. But this beingness that you are is always there. There's nothing more intimate than this infinite beingness that you are. When you say I, that's it. When you add on to it, that isn't it. That's what you need to let go of. You just say I, from here on, you'll be there. But the moment you add something onto it, I am this body, or I am this mind, or I and, that's not it. You're separating, you're imaging in your mind more than the oneness. And the more you image, the further away you are from that top state of just being. Because you're being the body, you're being the mind, you're being the husband, you're being the wife, you're being the child, you're being the friend. Then in being the body, you're being involved in everything to survive, keep that body surviving. But there's one thing you can't let go of. That's the word being. That's the part of you that has no limitation. That's the part of you that you're looking for in every last act you do. You're unhappy because you're not just being. Unhappiness is just moving away from beingness. So the more you try to be a body, the greater your unhappiness. There is no misery in life when we let go of identifying with the body and just to identify with our beingness. Are you? Sure you are. That's it. Period. Nothing else. That's it. You see the KISS theory? It's so simple. How do you get rid of all the obstaculations? Ag flap, that's all it is. These programs put into the banks of the mind keep operating until we release them. You get these programs out of the mind goes quiet, and your beingness is so loud you cannot help but be self-obvious to yourself as to what you are. Truth, reality, is that which never changes. And there's only one thing that never changes: the reality, the truth, our beingness. So we start from our beingness. We create a mind. The mind reflects all the parts. The mind creates all matter. And when you get involved in matter, everything matters. And you're just plagued by a bunch of nonsense. So we need to start going back up the chart, ridding ourselves of all these unconscious, deep programs, AGFLAP and so forth. I'm back at the point that I started with when I first spoke to you. Identify where you are, where you're going, what it is that needs to be done to get there. Does an infinite being have to work for a living? Do the free ones have jobs? Let go of the importance of work. Of course, you've got to do that which you have to do. Otherwise, your program says, I will die. You need this carcass to plague you until you get back up to the top. The only purpose for being in this world is to discover our freedom. The only purpose to come here is to get rid of all the limitations. And where are the limitations? In the mind. I'm afraid I can't, I'm guilty, I don't deserve it, I'm angry, I'm apathy, The whole purpose of being here is to rid ourselves of all these mentations that are deeply programmed and are the accumulation of many, many millions of years, millions of lifetimes. And yet, when you release at the bottom line, you can go free in a matter of months. Getting it constant gets you there. The momentum, like you're into now, you're able to release. As you release, you get high. From the high place, you can reach down deep and pull up the fear of dying. When you're free of that fear of dying, there'll be a much stronger agony, the feeling of separation. But because you've released so much, when you've let go of the fear of dying, you can handle it. And you throw out the feeling of separation. And you're there with a capital T. Now you must take responsibility to rid yourself of that which you have accumulated over the millions of years. If you don't take responsibility, you have programmed in those things and you're saying, I've got no responsibility, I have nothing to do with it, so it remains. It's so important for you to take responsibility. And when something bad happens, say, gee, look what I did. Cause it smash up. It takes an ability to do that. But if you take credit for the things you create that you don't like, It keeps you in the driver's seat. It keeps you in control. And as we know, control is not a bad word, not a bad thing. The want of it is. When we're free, we're in total control of the universe by mere effortless thought. When you're free, your mind is quiet. There are no thoughts there. So any thought you put in the mind is so concentrated, it happens like that. Your mind is plagued with probably tens of thousands of thoughts right now, all tied into the ag flap. So when your mind goes quiet, it's concentrated, and any mere thought happens immediately. It's such an effortless thought. That word effort is a good word to judge yourself by, check yourself by. To the degree you have no effort in life, to that degree you are free. You don't realize how ridiculous you look scratching for a living. Mm-hmm. It's such a... Well, I won't say, but you must get to the place where you master the world. Because if you're not winning, if you're not a winner, you have anti-programs. I can't be a winner. You must become a winner. You must achieve your goals so that you can bring up the anti-winning, the anti-goals, and rid yourself of them. The aversions to the world are stronger and far more subtle than the attachments. So when you go to be a winner, when you go for goals, up come your aversions. And you need to become a winner. Just to get the garbage up and out.
What did you say, that your aversions were stronger?
Your aversions are stronger and more subtle than your attachments. Your attachments are obvious. I want this, and I want that, and I want money, and I want beauty, and those are obvious. But the things you don't want, you don't look at. And that develops resistance, suppression, and resistance. So goals are very important on your way to becoming a winner. I hate to bother someone in bliss over there, Mr. Arona. Do you still run your goal charts? Are you in as good a position as you used to be when you were running them? What you're doing is you let up on releasing the blocks to being a winner. You've got to be a total winner in life. Think and have it happen. If I remember right, you wrote a goal for an important part in a Broadway show. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I saw you in a terrific part, really fighting your way through. What was the name of it? Knockout. And you were a knockout in it. I think during that time, didn't you write a goal to get an important part in a Hollywood movie? Didn't you get a part in Cruising? And during that time, didn't you write another goal, 6 figures, to make 6 figures?
Yeah.
And you got it?
Yeah.
And then your goal was to buy everything I wanted, sports car, home in the Hamptons, da-da-da-da-da-da, and you got it. Then what happened? I didn't need any goal charts. I got a cigar in my mouth. I'm a big shot. I'm not picking on you.
No.
That was the time when you could have really made a big forward spurt. And I invited you, said, why don't you join us? You didn't want to. You were above the Sedona graduates at that time, remember? It was pride. But the important thing, you stopped making goals.
Stop staying focused, Dr. General. And the other thing that I did was that when I stopped working, was I forgot how I did what it was that I did. And I put limitations on what I wanted, rather than accepting it from wherever it came. And I just kind of, I put limitations on it, rather than left it open.
The word is I stopped. That's all. You stopped. You take the 6 steps. There's no stopping in the 6 steps. You said to me, oh, after I got it, I'm just releasing constantly. And you were as giddy as could be. Remember? You were into step 6. Nothing knocked you down. If it hit you, you just kept moving up. Had you stayed right there, you would have been totally free. In a month or so after you spoke to me that time. But you stopped. You wanted things of the world at that moment. You forgot it was your inner happiness that was so great, not the things of the world. Because when you got one, the Broadway show, that wasn't good enough. You got 2, the movie, that wasn't good enough. You got 3, 6 figures, that wasn't good enough. It's all right, keep on winning, but get to the place where you can think and have things happen. Try to transcend having to work for a living. That's for slaves. That's not for free people. I'm sure most of you have created things for the mere thoughts of them. Now, if you can do it for one thing, do it for everything. There comes in a yes, but. And that yes, but is the remaining ag flap. So use your goal charts. Get rid of the ag flap. And move into the state of just being your beingness. You move around. You might have a silly smile on your face, but you can learn how to wipe that off. You won't disappear. The only thing that changes is, I am me. That body is a creation of my mind. The mind is something I set up. I am whole, complete, eternal in my beingness. And the body becomes of little importance. Once you recognize you created it mentally, and that you have used it to help sink yourself down into limitations of the body. I guess what I'm saying is, don't get frightened over going free. All your programs were put in as pro-survival. Every bit of them is anti-survival. Feed that to that mind of yours. Every bit of every program which was put in as pro-survival is anti-survival. This ought to help you let go of the fear, I will die if I go free. You're there right now. But what stopped you is what I was talking about. Fear of losing what you have now. You never lose. You never give up anything as you get freer. You take on more and more and more. Correction, you lose your miserable toys, your miseries. But when you go free, you walk around in a body. You'll eat, you'll talk, and you don't have to die. You can keep the body going indefinitely. So let go of the fears. If I go free, I will die. I think this is probably the number one holdback for all of us. I will die if I go free. These feelings are going to keep me surviving. They are my protection. I'll get angry and I'll swing at them. Or I'll get courageous and wipe them out. Look into your feelings. Examine them. Identify exactly what they are. They are pro-survival, but actually, in effect, anti-survival. We all have that feeling, I will die if I go free. All you die to is the miseries. You take the great ones. Did Buddha disappear when he got free? I think he went back to being prince or king, did he not? Did Jesus die? Yeah, but he used it to prove immortality. He came back in 3 days. And he's still around. So is Buddha. Yogananda was a free one. Look what he did. Came over from India and set up a huge organization. Ran it all by himself. And when he left in 52, I met his disciples, I think it was 54. They were still totally bewildered, not knowing what to do, because Yogananda did everything in the organization. They were paralyzed for several years because he was doing everything. Now he was a free one. Look what he did. Got 3 gorgeous properties. Set them up. Got tens of thousands of followers. There's an interesting story on his body. I met his disciples, 2 different ones told me about it. He had sick feet. He couldn't stand on them, they hurt. And one day he had to give a talk at their headquarters out in the open. Probably 1,000 or a few thousand people there. They carried him into the car. He couldn't walk. When he got there, the people were there. And when they got ready to carry him out, he said, "Oh no, not in front of people." He got out of the car on his own, and he walked up to the platform. Marie Nalini is the name of the sister who told me about it. She said, she looked at him and she noticed his feet were not touching the ground because they hurt. He levitated up to the platform. No one knew it, except she and the disciples around him who had to carry him into the car. Now I tell you that to not try to judge a free one by what he's doing. You pick on, well, someone said I took some vitamins. Well, wonderful. What's wrong with vitamins? I sleep. I eat. So what? The question is, do I have to? And the only reason why the great ones live like we do is because we can't comprehend them if they don't. They come down into our limitations, so they can't communicate with us. But like Yogananda, he had 6 feet and he had to walk. He didn't want to show it to the public, so he levitated. But I think the real reason why most of the masters are quite sick at times. Vivekananda, all his life, had a terrible body, excruciating pains. They do it as a reminder to them that they are not that body. Because they don't suffer the body, no matter how much it hurts. They'll laugh, the body's hurting. It doesn't bother them. They don't identify with it. They identify with their beingness. Beingness cannot hurt. You can do the same thing. But try to get rid of, I will die if I go free. That's what Michael went through, right, Michael? You lose everything. Everything's gone. It isn't. When you're free for the mere thought, you can have anything. I'm telling you, you could have 100 bodies and talk to 100 different people at the same time because there are no limitations. And if you read the autobiography of a yogi, several of the masters, after they died, came back. Yukteswar was one of them. He spoke to 4 people, 10 o'clock the next morning, in a physical body at the same time. There are no limitations when we are free. I'm trying to propagandize you into letting go of fear of dying, of the fact that if I go free, I'm finished. It's just the opposite. You've got to watch that tricky mind of yours. It keeps you down in the dumps. You shouldn't have to work for a living. You're an infinite being. There are other worlds where people never curse in the work for a living. Nature supplies an overabundance of everything for the mere thought of it. In fact, as I said last time, there's nothing out there but the outpicturing of your mind. If you picture slavery, you're a slave. If you picture freedom, everything comes to you without effort. Stop wasting time on the body. It creates karma. And karma is a harmer. You can never rid yourself of karma because to every act there's an opposite and equal act. That's the first law in physics. But it applies to us. As you're trying to work out karma, you're creating karma for the future. It's impossible to work out karma. But what you can do is transcend it. See what you are, and there is no karma. More specifically, karma is programs. And basic programs are feelings, and the most basic program is a feeling of separation.